The calm that protects you from everything. Buddhist wisdom. In the midst of life's turbulence, when storms seem endless and the noise of the world grows unbearable, there is within the Buddhist path a profound teaching. Calm is not merely the absence of conflict, but the very shield that sustains and protects the human heart. Calm is not weakness, nor is it escape. Rather, it is an inner fortress that allows us to remain untouched by the countless disturbances and anxieties that surround us. To cultivate calm is to discover a force that is invisible to the eye, yet more resilient than stone, capable of enduring not only the small irritations of daily life, but also the great storms of destiny. The Buddha did not present calm as a distant ideal meant only for monks in remote monasteries. He revealed it as a universal possibility, accessible to all who are willing to look inward and train their minds. Calm is a natural quality of consciousness, waiting to be uncovered beneath layers of craving, fear, and illusion. Once awakened, this calm becomes a form of protection that no external chaos can penetrate. It becomes a refuge, a shelter, and a guide through the uncertainties of existence. This text unfolds in 5 parts, each examining a dimension of the calm that protects us from everything. It is not a calm dependent on circumstances, but one born from wisdom and practice. To embrace it is to realize that peace is not fragile. It is the most unshakable power within us. The nature of protective calm. To understand how calm protects, one must first grasp its essence. Calm in Buddhist wisdom is not mere passivity or indifference. It is not the silence of suppression nor the quietness of escape. It is an active state of awareness that is grounded in equanimity. When one enters true calm, perception remains sharp, but the heart is no longer enslaved by reactivity. In this way, calm functions as a guardian, preventing us from being dragged into the storms of anger, fear, or despair. Protective calm is best compared to a vast and unmoving lake. The surface may reflect the sky and may ripple with the wind, but its depth remains untouched. Likewise, the mind of one who cultivates calm may perceive disturbance, but disturbance does not penetrate. This is why calm is not fragile. It is resilient, precisely because it is rooted in wisdom. The one who is calm does not deny pain, but embraces it with clarity. In doing so, they are protected, not because life has ceased to challenge them, but because challenge no longer dictates the state of their heart. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment and aversion, from the tendency to cling to what is pleasant and to resist what is unpleasant. Calm dissolves this reflex. By not clinging and not resisting, the heart rests in balance. This balance is not destroyed by the loss of possessions, the criticism of others, or the unpredictability of circumstances. Instead, it remains centered. Such calm, therefore, becomes a shield. No external condition can dictate the inner state of one who has tasted this depth of peace. Consider the individual who lives without calm. Every insult pierces them, every loss wounds them, every delay ignites their impatience. They are like a leaf blown endlessly by the wind, never still, never rooted. But the one who cultivates calm is like the tree whose roots sink deep into the earth. The wind may come, but the tree remains standing. This rootedness is the essence of protection. Life continues to bring its storms, yet calm makes one invulnerable to their destruction. Protective calm also has a healing power. When the mind is restless, the body suffers. Stress manifests as tension, anxiety corrodes the heart, and worry exhausts the spirit. But when calm is established, the body breathes naturally, the heart slows its pace, and the entire being rests in harmony. This physical and mental protection is not merely symbolic. Science now affirms what Buddhist wisdom has long known, that calm preserves health, extends life, and nourishes resilience. In this way, calm does not only shield the soul, but also safeguards the body itself. Furthermore, Calm enables discernment. When emotions dominate, decisions become clouded. Anger blinds, fear paralyzes, desire distorts. But in the stillness of calm, the mind perceives truth without distortion. It sees what is, rather than what craving or fear projects. Thus, calm protects not only from emotional storms, but also from the errors those storms create. It allows one to act with clarity rather than reaction, with wisdom rather than impulse. This clarity becomes a constant guardian in daily life, preventing the self from walking paths of regret. In the Buddhist tradition, calm is cultivated through meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living. It is not attained in a single moment, nor is it preserved without effort. It requires training, as one trains the body to gain strength. The mind must be guided repeatedly back to stillness, back to awareness, back to equanimity. Over time, this training yields fruit, and calm becomes the natural resting place of the soul. Once this calm is established, it does not vanish with changing circumstances. It remains like the steady flame of a lamp, untouched by the shifting air. Therefore, the calm that protects you from everything is not a myth nor an unreachable ideal. It is a real and living power that anyone can awaken. It is the quiet strength that makes one unassailable, the peace that no misfortune can rob, and the clarity that no confusion can cloud. To know it is to step into freedom, to rest in safety, and to discover within oneself the unbreakable shield of wisdom. If you want to continue exploring teachings like this and dive deeper into the wisdom that transforms the way we live, remember to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next lessons. The discipline of calm in a turbulent world. To understand the calm that protects, one must not only recognize it as an inner quality, but also see it as a discipline to be cultivated amidst the turbulence of daily life. For the human experience is rarely simple, and each day brings encounters, challenges, and uncertainties that test the strength of our composure. Calm does not blossom by accident, it is grown by intention. The discipline of calm requires that one learns to remain steady even when surrounded by chaos, that one chooses stillness when others choose reaction, that one trains the mind to abide in clarity even as the world presses for haste and confusion. This discipline is not a single act, but a lifelong practice, and it is in this practice that calm becomes not only a state of mind, but a shield that surrounds and protects. The world we inhabit is increasingly restless. The rapid pace of information, the constant demands of responsibility, and the pressures of expectation create a current that pulls people toward agitation and anxiety. Many feel as though they are always behind, always chasing, always striving, never at rest. This condition of restlessness is not new. Human beings have long been prone to distraction and desire, but the modern age magnifies it. The noise of the world enters our homes, our thoughts, and even our dreams, so that few moments remain untouched by urgency. In such an environment, the discipline of calm becomes more necessary than ever. It is not simply a practice for monks in cloisters or hermits in caves. It is a skill essential for survival in a time when mental rest is nearly extinct. Calm requires first that we withdraw our consent from the forces that demand constant reaction. The news cycle thrives on outrage. The market thrives on fear of missing out, and social interaction thrives on comparison. These influences stir the mind like wind across water, never allowing the surface to settle. To practice calm is to choose differently, to step aside from the compulsion, to react to every headline, every rumor, every impulse of envy or anger. It is to learn that not every invitation from the world requires attendance. Not every call for reaction must be answered. This is the first discipline, the discipline of non-reaction, of letting go of the reflex to be moved by every external disturbance. In this restraint lies protection, for when the world loses the power to dictate our state, we gain mastery over our own being. Yet calm is not built by avoidance alone. It is not enough to withdraw. One must also cultivate an inner stability that remains even when engagement with the world is necessary. To live is to interact, to make decisions, to confront challenges. Calm must therefore accompany us into every arena of life. The practice of meditation is a primary means of developing this capacity. In meditation, one sits quietly and observes the mind's tendencies to wander, to cling, to resist. Each time awareness returns to the present, calm is strengthened. The stillness cultivated in the quiet room begins to permeate the rest of life. Gradually, one learns to carry the meditative mind into conversation, into work, into conflict. Calm ceases to be a fragile state that exists only in silence and becomes a durable presence that endures even in noise. This durability is essential, for life will not hesitate to test our equanimity. Loved ones will misunderstand us, ambitions will be delayed, losses will occur. The discipline of calm is not about preventing such experiences, but about meeting them without collapse. Consider the moment of insult. When someone speaks harshly, the natural impulse is to defend, to retaliate, to allow anger to rise. But the disciplined calm of Buddhist wisdom invites a different response: to pause, to breathe, to see that the insult is not the true threat, but our reaction to it. Anger consumes us far more than words spoken against us. Calm protects because it disarms the poison before it spreads. By holding still, by choosing not to feed anger, we remain unharmed. The world may throw arrows, but they find no target in the one who dwells in calm. The same is true of fear. Life brings uncertainty, and the future is always beyond our control. Fear arises as the mind races into what might be, projecting danger, rehearsing catastrophe. But calm disciplines the mind to remain in the present, to face only what is real, not what is imagined. Fear thrives on imagination, calm thrives on presence. When the mind rests in what is before it, fear loses its grip. Calm protects not by denying the possibility of danger, but by refusing to suffer from it before it arrives. The person who cultivates calm learns to meet tomorrow when tomorrow comes, and not before. In this way, calm shields us from the unnecessary torment of anxiety, freeing us to act wisely when action is truly required. Calm is also tested in desire. The world is filled with temptations, possessions to obtain, status to chase, pleasures to pursue. These promises create endless hunger, and hunger is never satisfied. The more one feeds it, the more it grows. Desire is a fire that consumes peace, leaving the heart restless and empty. The discipline of calm is the practice of seeing desire for what it is, a fleeting impulse, not a necessity. By neither clinging nor resisting, calm observes desire as it passes. In this observation, the fire cools. Calm protects by preventing us from being enslaved by craving. It reminds us that happiness is not found in accumulation, but in freedom from need. The shield of calm is forged in this freedom, making the heart unassailable by the world's endless lures. The discipline of calm does not render one cold or detached in a lifeless sense. Rather, it allows the heart to love more deeply, to care more wisely, to act more compassionately. When calm is established, one is no longer ruled by the storms of personal emotion and can therefore see others with clarity. Compassion flows more freely because it is not obstructed by selfish agitation. The calm person can listen without impatience, forgive without resentment, and serve without expectation. In this way, calm protects not only the individual, but also those around them, for it prevents the harm that uncontrolled reactivity might cause. The shield of calm extends outward, creating peace in relationships, families, communities. It is a discipline that transforms not only the self, but the world one touches. Still, the path to calm is not easy. The habits of restlessness are deeply ingrained. The mind resists stillness because it has long been conditioned to chase, to compare, to worry. To practice calm is to confront these habits, often again and again as they arise. There will be failure, moments when anger wins, when fear dominates, when desire seduces. But the discipline of calm is not perfection. It is persistence. Each time we return to calm, we strengthen it. Each failure becomes a teacher, reminding us of the cost of losing peace and the value of reclaiming it. In this persistence, calm grows strong. In the Buddhist tradition, calm is not separate from wisdom. The two support each other, each incomplete without the other. Wisdom sees the impermanence of all things, the emptiness of self, the futility of clinging. Calm rests upon this vision. Without wisdom, calm would be fragile, easily disturbed by change. But with wisdom, calm is unshakable, for it knows that change is the nature of existence, and that to cling is to suffer. In the same way, wisdom requires calm, for without calm the mind is too agitated to see clearly. Together they form the shield that protects from everything, not by controlling the world, but by transforming how the mind meets it. The discipline of calm, therefore, is a way of life. It is practiced in the small moments as much as the great ones, in the patience of waiting, in the restraint of anger, in the acceptance of loss, in the refusal of craving. It is lived in the breath taken before speaking, in the pause before reacting, in the quiet recognition that nothing outside has the power to disturb the sanctuary within unless permission is given. To live this way is to walk through the world with a shield invisible yet indestructible. It is to be free in the midst of bondage, to be safe in the midst of danger, to be whole in the midst of brokenness. This is the calm that protects. For those who wish to embrace this discipline and grow in the wisdom that brings lasting peace, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. By joining, you remain connected to teachings that nurture calm, strengthen resilience, and reveal the shield of wisdom that no turbulence can break. The strength of stillness against suffering. Suffering, in all its forms, is the constant companion of human existence. The Buddha himself began his teaching by acknowledging this truth. Life, as ordinarily lived, is characterized by dukkha, often translated as suffering, dissatisfaction, or unease. People encounter it in pain, in loss, in the fleeting nature of joy, and in the inevitability of death. The common response to suffering is resistance. One pushes against it, tries to outrun it, denies it, or attempts to numb it with distraction. Yet this resistance only deepens the wound, because to resist what is already present is to create a second suffering layered upon the first. What Buddhist wisdom teaches, and what the calm that protects us embodies, is that stillness is stronger than resistance, and that by meeting suffering with calm, we find not defeat, but freedom. To live with calm does not mean that suffering ceases to exist. Even the most enlightened beings experienced pain and loss. The body ages, relationships shift, the world continues its cycles of rise and fall. What changes is not the outer condition, but the way the heart meets it. Stillness, when cultivated, becomes a source of immense strength. It allows one to hold suffering without being crushed by it, to acknowledge pain without identifying with it, to allow grief to pass through without being defined by grief. In this way, calm is not escape, but endurance, not denial, but transformation. It is the difference between being swept away by the river of suffering and standing firm upon the bank, watching the current without drowning in it. The practice of calm requires that one sees suffering as a universal truth rather than a personal punishment. Much of human anguish arises from the belief that pain is unfair, that one is singled out for misfortune. This belief compounds suffering with bitterness and resentment, but the one who cultivates calm sees that suffering belongs to all beings, that it is woven into the fabric of existence. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are not unique tragedies, but common experiences. To see this truth is to step into equanimity, for resentment dissolves when we recognize that no one is exempt. Calm protects us here by lifting us out of the illusion of injustice and reminding us that suffering is not a sign of failure, but a condition of life. Once suffering is seen clearly, the calm heart can hold it gently. Rather than fleeing from pain, calm invites us to be still with it, to observe it without panic, to allow its space to arise and pass. This stillness is paradoxical, for though it seems passive, it is in truth a form of great strength. To sit with grief without distraction, to breathe through pain without resentment, to acknowledge loss without collapsing, these are not acts of weakness, but of courage. Calm is the strength that permits endurance without bitterness. It is the unyielding ground beneath our feet when the world shakes. By cultivating calm, we discover that we are capable of bearing more than we imagined, not because we harden ourselves, but because we soften into acceptance. In daily life, this strength of stillness manifests in countless ways. Consider illness. When the body falters, the instinct is to despair, to rage against fate. But such resistance only worsens the suffering, adding mental torment to physical pain. Calm, however, allows one to meet illness with patience. It does not deny the discomfort, but faces it without panic, trusting that the storm will pass or that it can be borne with dignity. In this way, calm shields the heart from despair, giving strength to endure. Or consider grief. The loss of a loved one can shatter the unprepared heart, leaving it restless and broken. Yet when calm has been cultivated, grief is still profound but not annihilating. The calm heart allows sorrow to flow, yet remains rooted in the understanding that loss is the price of love, and that change is the law of existence. Calm does not eliminate grief, but it ensures that grief does not consume the entirety of life. Another way in which calm protects against suffering is by interrupting the cycle of craving. So much pain arises not from what is, but from what is desired and not obtained. The mind imagines happiness only in possession, in status, in recognition. When these are absent, suffering arises. But calm trains the mind to rest without craving, to be content with the present. This contentment is not complacency, but freedom. To be free from craving is to no longer be tormented by the endless dissatisfaction of wanting. Calm protects by cutting the root of this suffering, showing that peace is found not in attaining everything but in needing little. The strength of stillness is also evident in how it protects against anger. Anger arises when expectations are not met, when we feel wronged or obstructed. It burns within, consuming peace, driving harmful words and actions. Yet anger is always temporary, always reactive. Calm disarms it by providing space between impulse and response. In stillness, one sees that anger is a storm that passes quickly if not fed. By refusing to react, by observing the fire without adding fuel, calm allows anger to extinguish itself. This protection is profound, for anger not only harms relationships, but poisons the heart. The shield of calm saves us from the destruction of rage, allowing us to act with clarity and compassion even in provocation. Stillness also strengthens resilience against uncertainty. Much suffering comes from the fear of what lies ahead, from the inability to control outcomes. The future is unknown, and the mind, restless and anxious, fills it with imagined disasters. Calm meets this uncertainty with trust in the present. By resting in what is real now, calm removes the weight of tomorrow's speculation. It teaches us that tomorrow will bring its own challenges and that the strength to meet them will arise when needed. Calm protects us from carrying the burden of 1,000 imagined futures, allowing us to live lightly, to rest in today. Importantly, the calm that protects against suffering does not isolate one from compassion. On the contrary, it makes compassion deeper and more enduring. When one is tossed about by personal suffering, the capacity to care for others is limited. But when calm is established, one is able to hold both one's own suffering and the suffering of others without collapse. Compassion becomes steady, not reactive. The calm person can sit with another's pain without needing to fix it, without rushing to escape the discomfort, without being overwhelmed. This is the strength of stillness. It allows us to accompany others in their suffering while remaining whole ourselves. In this way, calm becomes a gift to the world, a presence of stability in a sea of turmoil. To cultivate such calm requires practice. Meditation trains the mind to return again and again to stillness, to observe thoughts and feelings without identification. Mindfulness throughout the day extends this practice into every moment: eating, walking, speaking, working. Each time we return to awareness, calm is strengthened. Each moment of restraint, each pause before reaction builds the muscle of stillness. Over time, this training transforms the very fabric of the mind. Restlessness gives way to steadiness, agitation gives way to peace, and suffering loses its power to dominate. Yet one must be patient, for the discipline of calm is not achieved overnight. The mind will resist. Habits will return, suffering will arise. But each moment of practice is progress, each act of stillness is protection. Just as a tree grows slowly yet becomes unshakable, so too does calm mature with time. And once it matures, it provides shade not only for oneself, but for all who come near. In the end, the strength of stillness against suffering is perhaps the most profound protection of all. For suffering cannot be entirely avoided, but it can be met with dignity, with courage, with peace. Calm does not remove pain, but transforms the way it is experienced, turning torment into teacher, loss into lesson, uncertainty into opportunity for trust. To cultivate calm is to discover that we are stronger than suffering, not because suffering ceases, but because calm renders us unbreakable. If you wish to continue learning how Buddhist wisdom can shield your heart and transform suffering into strength, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can remain connected to these teachings and deepen your journey into inner calm. Calm as the path to freedom from fear. Fear is one of the most pervasive forces in human life. It disguises itself in many forms: worry, anxiety, hesitation, avoidance, even aggression. Beneath much of what people do lies fear: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of death. Fear constricts the heart, distorts perception, and binds the spirit to chains that are invisible yet unyielding. Fear drives people to cling to what is impermanent, to fight battles that need not be fought, to remain trapped in cycles of restlessness and despair. Yet the calm taught in Buddhist wisdom reveals a different possibility, that fear, though powerful, is not absolute, and that stillness can dissolve its hold. Calm is not merely an antidote to fear. It is the path to freedom from it, a freedom that does not depend on eliminating danger, but on transforming the way danger is met. The origin of fear lies in attachment and ignorance. Human beings cling to possessions, relationships, identities, and expectations as though they were permanent. They build their sense of self upon fragile foundations. Inevitably, these foundations shift, for all conditioned things are impermanent. What is gained will be lost. What is born will die. Ignorance of this truth leads to clinging, and clinging produces fear. Fear of losing what cannot be held, fear of change that cannot be stopped. The calm that protects us arises when wisdom and equanimity reveal that nothing is truly secure except the freedom that comes from letting go. When we no longer demand permanence from impermanent things, fear loses its power, for there is nothing left to guard, nothing left to defend. To live with calm is to meet fear, not with resistance, but with presence. Fear often grows in the shadows of the mind, magnified by imagination. The mind runs ahead into possible futures, crafting scenarios of disaster, but calm disciplines the mind to remain in the present, where fear rarely has ground to stand upon. In the present moment, most fears dissolve, for the danger imagined has not yet arrived, and what is before us is often bearable. Calm protects by pulling us back from the endless spirals of thought into the simplicity of now. Each breath, each step, each small act of awareness cuts the root of fear, for fear cannot thrive in the clear light of presence. The one who cultivates calm learns to watch fear without being consumed by it. When anxiety arises, they do not immediately obey its command to flee or fight. They pause, breathe, and observe. In this observation, fear is seen for what it is, a surge of energy in the body, a story in the mind, not an absolute reality. By holding still, by refusing to react impulsively, the calm person discovers that fear is less solid than it appears. It comes, it peaks, and it fades, like a wave upon the ocean. In this recognition, fear loses its tyranny. Calm protects not by denying fear, but by stripping it of its illusion of permanence and inevitability. This strength is especially evident in the face of death. Death is the ultimate source of fear, for it threatens the very sense of self. Most human fears are reflections of this deeper fear, the fear of losing existence, identity, consciousness. Yet Buddhist wisdom teaches that clinging to the self is the root of this fear, and that calm is possible even in the face of mortality. Through meditation on impermanence, through awareness of the arising and passing of each moment, one learns that death is not an enemy, but a continuation of change, the same change present in every breath. To rest in calm is to release the terror of death, to see it as natural as birth, to face it not with panic, but with serenity. This freedom from the fear of death radiates into all of life, for when the greatest fear is dissolved, lesser fears lose their sting. In everyday life, calm frees us from the countless small fears that corrode peace. The fear of judgment silences authenticity, making us live for appearances rather than truth. Calm dissolves this fear by rooting identity not in the opinion of others, but in the clarity of awareness itself. The fear of failure prevents action, trapping us in hesitation. Calm frees us by showing that failure is not catastrophe, but teacher, that outcomes are impermanent, but growth is eternal. The fear of loss drives clinging and jealousy, turning love into possession. Calm transforms love into compassion, allowing it to flow freely without chains. In each case, fear enslaves. Calm liberates. The freedom that calm provides is not reckless, but wise. It does not ignore danger or deny caution. Rather, it distinguishes between real threats and imagined ones, between wise action and panicked reaction. The calm person sees clearly and acts appropriately, unclouded by fear's distortions. This clarity is the true protection of calm. It allows us to meet danger with wisdom and courage rather than blindness and desperation. When fear no longer dictates our actions, we become free to live fully, to love deeply, to walk boldly into each moment without chains. Yet cultivating such calm requires deliberate practice. Fear is deeply ingrained, rooted in survival instincts, reinforced by habit. To unlearn fear is to train the mind repeatedly to return to stillness. Meditation becomes the forge in which this calm is strengthened. By sitting with restlessness, by observing fear without fleeing, one builds resilience. Each time the mind resists fear's command, the chains weaken. Over time, calm becomes the natural response, replacing panic with presence, replacing anxiety with acceptance. This is not to say fear never arises, but that when it does, it finds no master to obey it. The calm heart watches, breathes, and allows it to pass. The freedom from fear that calm provides is transformative. Imagine walking through life unbound by the endless anxieties that plague the restless mind. Imagine loving without fear of rejection, working without fear of failure, living without fear of death. Such freedom does not make one careless, but deeply alive. Every moment becomes vivid, unclouded by anxiety. Every relationship becomes authentic, unchained by insecurity. Every action becomes courageous, guided not by avoidance of fear, but by clarity of purpose. This is the gift of calm, a shield that does not merely defend, but liberates. History is filled with examples of those who embodied this freedom. The Buddha himself faced loss, betrayal, and even threats of violence with equanimity, his calm unshaken. Great teachers and practitioners across centuries have walked into persecution, into exile, even into death with serenity, their calm protecting them from the fear that would enslave others. Their lives are testament to the truth that fear is not inevitable, that calm can dissolve even the deepest terrors, and though their examples may seem lofty, the same possibility lies within each of us. The shield of calm is not reserved for saints. It is available to all who practice stillness and embrace wisdom. In truth, fear cannot be destroyed, for it arises naturally in the human condition, but it can be understood, transformed, and released. Calm is the means of this transformation. Calm meets fear with stillness, turns it into clarity, and dissolves its chains. Each moment of practice builds freedom. Each breath taken in awareness strengthens the shield. Gradually, fear loses its grip, and the heart discovers what it has long sought, the freedom to live without bondage. Therefore, the calm that protects us is not passive but liberating. It protects not by building walls of avoidance, but by dissolving the chains of fear. It allows us to meet life's uncertainties with courage, to love without clinging, to face death without panic. In calm, fear loses its tyranny, and we discover a freedom deeper than safety, the freedom to be fully alive. If you wish to continue walking this path of liberation, to learn how calm can free you from fear and open the door to true peace, subscribe to the channel and stay connected to these teachings. Each step in calm brings greater freedom, and together we can nurture the wisdom that dissolves fear and reveals the unshakable calm within. The calm that becomes unshakable peace. There is a calm that arises in moments of rest, when circumstances align in our favor, when the environment is quiet, when responsibilities momentarily release their grip. Such calm, though pleasant, is fragile. It depends on conditions outside of us, and as soon as those conditions shift, the calm dissolves. True Buddhist wisdom points us to another kind of calm, one that does not waver with changing fortune, one that becomes an unshakable peace within. This is the calm that protects you from everything, not because the world has ceased to move, but because your heart no longer depends on its movements. It is a calm beyond circumstance, beyond preference, beyond clinging. It is the calm that rests in the very nature of reality itself. To understand how such peace is possible, one must first see that all things are impermanent. Every experience, every possession, every relationship, every moment of joy or sorrow, all arise and pass away. The restless heart seeks permanence in these impermanent things, hoping to grasp what cannot be held. This grasping creates endless suffering. But the calm that matures into unshakable peace arises when the truth of impermanence is fully embraced. To see that nothing can be held is not cause for despair, but the beginning of freedom. When one no longer demands permanence, one no longer fears loss. When one no longer fears loss, one discovers peace that cannot be disturbed. This peace is not indifference. It is not the cold refusal to care. On the contrary, it is the very ground of compassion. When one is free from clinging, love becomes pure, untainted by fear or possession. Compassion flows naturally, for there is no need to defend the self, no need to grasp at others for security. The calm heart sees all beings as fellow travelers through impermanence, each burdened by suffering, each yearning for peace. This vision awakens boundless compassion, the willingness to serve, to forgive, to uplift, without condition. Thus, the unshakable calm of Buddhist wisdom is not retreat from the world, but deeper engagement with it, free from the chains of fear and craving. How does one reach this peace? It begins with mindfulness, the steady awareness of each moment as it arises and passes. Mindfulness reveals the truth of impermanence not as theory, but as direct experience. Each breath is born and dies, each thought appears and vanishes, each sensation arises and fades. To observe this truth again and again is to loosen the grip of clinging. The mind begins to rest in the flow of change rather than fighting against it. Out of this resting arises equanimity, the balanced mind that does not rise and fall with fortune, but remains steady in all conditions. This equanimity is the seed of unshakable peace. Meditation deepens this process. In the stillness of practice, the layers of restlessness fall away. The mind settles, the heart quiets, and beneath the turbulence there is discovered a vast stillness, like the depth of an ocean untouched by surface storms. This stillness is not created, it is revealed, for it has always been present. The storms of thought and emotion only obscured it. To rest in this depth is to touch the essence of calm, the peace that is not given by the world and cannot be taken away. Once known, even briefly, this peace changes everything. The search for security in external things begins to fade, replaced by trust in the inner refuge that is always available. The unshakable calm is tested in the fire of life. It is tested when insult comes, when loss arrives, when fear whispers, when death approaches. At first, the mind may waver, pulled by old habits of reactivity. But with practice, calm returns more quickly, more steadily, until eventually it does not leave at all. The insults lose their sting, for identity is no longer fragile. Loss loses its devastation, for nothing was ever truly possessed. Fear loses its grip, for the present is always enough. Death loses its terror, for life and death are seen as waves in the same ocean. In each case, calm protects, not by eliminating the challenge, but by revealing its true nature. The peace that arises cannot be shaken, because it does not depend on conditions that change. One might ask, is such peace realistic in the chaos of ordinary life? The Buddhist answer is yes, though it requires discipline and patience. Peace is not an escape from responsibility. It is the strength to meet responsibility with clarity and composure. Peace is not withdrawal from relationship. It is the freedom to love without fear. Peace is not indifference to suffering. It is the compassion to face suffering without collapse. In this way, unshakable calm is not only realistic, but necessary. Without it, we remain slaves to circumstance, tossed endlessly by fortune. With it, we become free, steady, whole. The great masters have often described this calm as a refuge. Not a refuge in the sense of running away, but a refuge in the sense of coming home. It is the realization that within each of us there is a depth untouched by noise, a center that is never disturbed. To live from this center is to be unassailable. The storms will come as they always do, but they will not define us. The calm within remains, guiding us, protecting us, sustaining us. This is the refuge of Buddhist wisdom, the calm that protects from everything. To bring this teaching into daily life, one must practice in small ways. When impatience arises in traffic, breathe and return to calm. When frustration arises at work, pause and observe without reacting. When sorrow visits, allow it space without clinging to it as identity. Each of these moments is training, each an opportunity to strengthen the shield of calm. Over time, these small acts accumulate, and what was once fragile becomes unshakable. Peace ceases to be an occasional guest and becomes a permanent resident. Ultimately, the calm that becomes unshakable peace is the very essence of liberation. It is freedom not only from suffering, but from the roots of suffering, craving, aversion, and ignorance. It is the realization of the Buddha's teaching that nothing external can grant true safety, that the only true refuge is within. To live in this peace is to live awakened, free, whole. It is to walk through the world with a shield that cannot be broken, because it is not made of anything the world can touch. This is the calm that protects you from everything. It is not distant. It is not reserved for saints or sages. It is within you now, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to be nurtured, waiting to be lived. Each step toward mindfulness, each breath of awareness, each moment of equanimity brings you closer. And once it is discovered, it changes everything, for you realize that the peace you sought outside was always within, unshakable, eternal. If you are ready to continue walking this path, to nurture the calm that becomes unshakable peace, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Together we can deepen our practice, support one another, and keep alive the wisdom that reveals the refuge within. Let this be your next step toward a peace that nothing can take away.